Okay, and we are live on YouTube. I'm always waiting for that YouTube to make a sound in a second, but hey guys, we're live here for our 5th week of Paycheck Protection, and I'm really excited for tonight. We just had so much fun in the green room beforehand, having a conversation, and we are here with Shelley Roxanne, and Shelley Roxanne is a radio and TV personality and is a #1 best-selling author of the groundbreaking book, The Frustrated Believer. What to do when you don't know what to do? She's an award-winning peak performance coach, known globally as the Queen of Optimism, and has been named a national woman of influence by a national magazine, having beat out billionaire Mark Cuban for the #1 spot in its category. Shelley's groundbreaking book is changing lives all over the globe in a fun, provocative, and profoundly insightful read that illustrates how anyone, no matter what their age, faith, religion, or personal philosophy, can, with the right mindset, enjoy the exciting journey called life. As an award-winning talk show host, Shelley's interviewed some of the world's most fascinating, such as executive in the entertainment industry. She has managed the careers of some of the industry's top artists and have been known to turn unknowns into stars in their own right. Shelley has interviewed the greats like Rich Dad, Poor Dad's Robert Kiyosaki, Chicken Soup for the Soul's Jack Canfield, Lisa Nichols, Mr. Fire Joe Vitale, teachers of The Secret, famous Amos, Tim Wise, hosts of athletes, celebrities, and experts, as well as everyday talented folks with a calling. As an interviewee, she's been interviewed and pitched to television producers from The Today Show, Good Morning America, The View, ABC News, The Food Network, Rachel Ray, major networks, hundreds of radio hosts, podcasters, and journalists. Suffice to say, she's a celebrity in her own right. The father of motivation, Dr. Dwyer said, Shelley Roxanne is the one critics say she has the Oprah effect. And recently, this media pro, Shelley Roxanne, successfully launched a masterclass called From Overlooked to Overbooked, which is turning authors, experts, coaches, and leaders into media rock stars and helping them become known as experts in their respective fields and industries by appearing on radio, podcasts, and TV. Fans call it Shelleyfied. So we are very excited tonight to be talking, especially about the new program you have right now, Shelley. And I don't think they want to hear from me. I can't even get you up my screen. Hold on one second. Very good. I'm so happy to have you here tonight. Let's rock and roll.
Thank you, Dr. David. It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me. That was a bio. That was a tongue twister bio there.
You're absolutely an expert. And really what we're going to be talking about a lot tonight, we were just saying, was how do we get our brand out there? How do we get out in front of people if we have a book or we have a brand or we have a product or something we want to get out to the world? And it's funny because we talked about it earlier. I've done a couple of these things and I've always fell short. I had a book. I tried to be a life coach as a chiropractor and a health coach, and just getting it out there and getting the brand out there and attracting people to the message has always been a little difficult for me. So I'm really excited to hear what you have to say tonight.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's a common problem that people have, that they're wanting to get their message out to the world, but not quite sure how to do it. And I learned that there are millions and millions of dollars worth of free publicity available by appearing on media. And when I say media, I mean podcasts, radio, TV, summits. There are so many ways that entrepreneurs, authors, experts, people who have a brand or a message and want to get it out there, but the budgets might be a little tight. You know, for me, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a publicist that she had Denzel Washington, Mariah Carey, and the ladies from Sex and the City. And then there was Shelley Roxanne down there. And I wasn't getting, the appearances. the promise was that she was going to get me on shows and in magazines and all kinds of things. And it wasn't until I took control of my own publicity and got myself out there and got on shows. So that's why I help people to do the same and to save hundreds of thousands of dollars by taking advantage of this free medium.
So what you're saying is, so just from one of my, I'll share one of my ideas. You know, I would say it might have been 7-8 years ago, I wrote a book on chiropractic, and it was the chiropractic evolution.
Yeah.
And I spent time and I spent months and I researched and I wrote and I typed on my laptop, and then I put together this transcript and I got it, you know, I created the art, and then I got endorsements from people that I really thought were important. And I put this book together, and then I really didn't know what to do with it. Like, I really didn't know where to go. And luckily there was this like group of chiropractors that would meet in every state. It was called the Epoch Group, and they would have you come out for free. Now you had to fly out on your own dime.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
bring it, ship a box of books ahead of time, you know, hopefully sell them at $20 and then pay for the hotel. It was like, there was no model for it, you know? So I found myself, you know, for 2 years in a different state every single month, trying to just get this word out there and create this platform as an author and a speaker, only to get really burnt out on it. You know, what I really discovered was, at least from that experience, is I didn't want to travel the country all the time out of a bag, right? And I got minimal, maybe I got some publicity, and I grew a list possibly of people who were interested, but it was a failing business, if nothing else. And the biggest thing the biggest return of investment was to stop spending money on airlines and hotels and just.
So it was saving money. And meanwhile, you had this book that you dedicated your career and poured everything into and money, and was just frustrated with trying to get it out there. That is, again, one of the biggest deterrents to a lot of people who say, you know, I may have a book in me, I have a message that I want to share with people, but the biggest thing is how to get it out there. And there are ways that at first it's important, because I wish I had known you then, because, you know, you are a rock star, I can tell. So that would have been an easy thing to get you out there and tie you to the community of people that you are looking to speak to in terms of your chiropractic work. There are alone 850,000 podcasts existing today. And the beauty is, thankfully, because we are all locked down and now using these mediums of Zoom and YouTube and social media to communicate with each other, you can do an entire book tour and never have to leave your house, and can be in your great shirt and your skivvies on the bottom, because, you know, you are out there doing your thing and not having to pay for a hotel and not having to, you know, travel and all of that. And you are able to spread your message on the medium. That's why it's so timely for anyone now who is looking to maybe do a book, or who is a messenger and wants to get their message out there. This is the time to do it, because you can do it right from the comfort of your own home.
Very interesting. So Shelley, before we talk just about me, could you tell me a little bit about, you know, how you got into this and why you're so passionate about helping people get the word out?
Sure, absolutely. Well, it really started for me. I was 5 years old, and it's Easter Sunday at church. It's my first speaking engagement, is what I tell people. And it was my turn to go. They gave me 3 words to say, Dr. David. They gave me 3 words, and they said, okay, we need you to get out here and deliver this message to the crowd. And it's written on a piece of paper, and the words were, Happy Easter Day. That's all I had to say. Okay, that's all I had to say. So I'm 5. They prop me up and they put me on the stage in front of the entire congregation. And I see these expectant eyes. And I'm standing there with my little lace socks and patent leather shoes and my Easter bonnet. And I'm ready for my, debut. And I stood there and the words couldn't come out. They couldn't come out. And I saw my daddy, who was standing at stage right, and I made a decision, I'm not doing this. And I ran over and I grabbed my daddy's leg and I hid behind his leg. And for the next 35 years, I was offered incredible opportunities to show up in a big way and to use my voice to do something powerful. And instead, I hid behind my daddy's leg where it was safe. Of course, now it's metaphorically because I was too big to be hiding behind there by this, 35 years later, but I was still hiding out. I wasn't showing up. I wasn't playing full out. Now, for most people, they would say, oh, you've lived a big life up until then and did big things. Yes, for most people, but not for me. I was playing easily at 50%. And so one day I get a phone call and these people say to me, we think you'd be fantastic with your own show. And I was thinking, TV is calling finally. And they said, well, we were actually thinking radio. And I said, radio? And waste all of this on radio? Who in the world would listen to me on the radio? I'm just a small town girl from upstate New York. Who is going to listen to me? They already have Oprah. They don't need me. I am not going to do this. So I sit at the computer, I turn it on. It's now October 2005. And October 5th, 25th to be exact, 2005. And I turn the computer on and across the screen says civil rights icon Rosa Parks dead at the age of 92. Well, David, I cried like this woman was my grandmother. Not because it was sad that a civil rights icon had passed, yes. Not because I had actually had the opportunity to meet her, yes, that was sad. But what it was that had me weeping was that I felt that Rosa was passing the baton to me. And that day she said to me, stop hiding out. Stop playing small. Use your voice. Change the world. And so meanwhile, I was ready to type my thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to stand here behind my daddy's leg and hide out. And after that, I accepted that position. And then the Shelley Roxanne show was born. And the first day they said to me, first of all, don't talk about politics, religion, race, or money. And I said, okay. And it was the very first thing that I talked about. And they said to me, and by the way, don't do any of that. And you're gonna have to talk to yourself for 3 hours because no one will call in for months. They're gonna take time to get to know you and to really feel you. And once you develop your audience, then people will start to call in. And so I was prepared to talk to myself, which I do quite a bit. So I was okay with that. So I was prepared to talk to myself for hours. And within 5 minutes of my very first show, the phone lines blew up and it was incredible. And I've had the opportunity, as you read in the bio to talk to some of the world's most fascinating people. And it has been incredible. But what really did it for me, David, was about 3 months into the show, I was on the air, and unbeknownst to me, a man was driving to the Tappan Zee Bridge. Anybody who knows New York knows that it's a famous bridge in New York. And this man was distraught. He was devastated with his life. His wife had left him. She took the children. He lost his job. His family had turned their back on him, and he was ready to commit suicide. So he drives to the Tappan Zee Bridge, and he goes to jump off. So he gets to the bridge, he opens the car door, and he's standing there contemplating this move to jump. And on his radio, he hears the Shelley Roxanne show. And he hears me saying, the best is yet to come. Nobody puts baby in a corner. It's not what it looks like. And he dropped to his knees and wept. And he jumped in the car and he turned it around on the bridge and drove straight to the radio station. And he was banging on the window there. I need to speak to Shelley Roxanne. And they said, well, she's on the air, sir. He says, I need to tell her that she saved my life. She talked me off a bridge. I heard her. And so they came to me and, on a station break, and they said, some guy is out there. He said, you saved his life. And I said, bring him in. So we bring him in to the studio and to the booth. And he tells me on the air about what had happened. And he said, I heard you. And that day, 2 lives were saved, his and mine. Because all of that time I was thinking, who am I to use my voice? And meanwhile, it was my voice that he heard that day, not Oprah, not Ellen or Dr. Phil. He heard me. And from that day forward, I have dedicated my life to helping other people use their voice to save a life, because the very life that they save could be their own. That's why I do what I do.
Wow. I hear you. You say because I want to talk more about that. And I want to talk about, and first of all, everybody out there, and I know you're loving this right now. So do not wait to start to ask your questions on the side chat. In this conversation, I'll bring it in. It's so important for people to find their voice. It's so admirable that you have dedicated your life to helping people find their voice.
Yeah.
And so this has gone really quickly from a paycheck business conversation to a real, this is real. I mean, this is real. I mean, finding one's voice, their true inner voice, and aligning their values. And I love the fact that the first thing they said is don't talk about X, Y, and Z.
Yes.
And really what happened within moments was that you decided to talk about the things that meant the most to you. And obviously it's what you connected with people. So you really went to a genuine place. And so not for me to analyze the conversation, but
sure,
that's so huge for people, because I wonder how many people out there right now, are afraid to stand up and speak, or don't feel that their voice matters.
Yes.
So,
and that was the biggest thing for me, David, is that I was thinking, who would listen to me? As I said, I'm just a small town girl from upstate New York, and who would hear me is what I was concerned about. And it was amazing that when, upon making the decision and breaking past that barrier of fear, and that I realized it was not my business who was listening. My business was to see to it that I put the voice out there, that I use the voice. And I had no idea that a life would be saved, that literally him hearing me say something that saved this man from jumping off of a bridge to kill himself. And that is so powerful. So there are people out there that are, in this masterclass right now that have something to say. And it may seem, I may be being dramatic. It's not, it is real that you may say something that can change your life. And I was determined that I was going to give the message that I was called to give and not what they told me to say. Because if you do what others tell you to do, then they could use anyone. But I believe I was given a message, and that immediately people heard it. And that is what made them then call in and connected in the most amazing way. And it was because I talked about the things that no one else was talking about, because everyone else was told those are taboo subjects. And of course, now everyone tries to be, controversial since then. But I was really, a pioneer out there in talking about the things that really mattered, and hearing people and being willing to disagree, and still be loving and still be kind with it and still allow people to be heard and not to attack people for a difference of opinion.
So now that you have this, you've got this radio show, you're exploring, you're sharing your voice. Tell us a little bit about that in your career and how you've now dedicated so much of what you do to helping others do the same. Who are some of those clients? Who's reaching out to you right now? How could myself or people that are in this class listening right now, what are some of the things that you could help them with? I know there's people out there that are just, maybe they're starting their own multi-level marketing business right now, or maybe they're creating some sort of coaching business right now, or they're at home and they're creating some sort of product business where they've got to get the word out. So tell us how you went from your show to becoming such an expert, and then, how could we tap into that expertise?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I knew was super important for me was to get my message out in the form of a book. So I knew that I needed to have a book, because today, at the end of the day, your book is your brochure. It really is. If you are writing anything that is, a how-to, this is the best way to do this, these are my concepts, you definitely want to have a book. So this is a tip for all you folks out there who are thinking that you want to start something, even if it's an MLM. I was in an MLM for probably 20 years. And it was the most incredible experience for me, because nowhere else were you in business for yourself, but not by yourself. But they also promoted what we called PMA, which is that positive mental attitude, type reading and things like that. And so that's really what sparked me to then write the book, which was tips. It was 50 bite-sized chapters. The book is called The Frustrated Believer: What to Do When You Don't Know What to Do. And it's 50 bite-sized chapters of sage advice that, a lot of it is fun. The chapters are, nobody puts baby in a corner is a chapter. And, the best is yet to come. And we develop, life is like photography, you develop from the negative. And so it's all of these little things that you can use kind of as, it's kind of the new Bible. People are putting it on the nightstand and using it and referring to it, for different times in their life. And that was me in a book. That really became my brochure. So from there, I then went on a media tour, and I literally did what I'm telling other people to do, is get out there, get on shows, get on podcasts, get on radio, get on television, and get yourself out there as an expert in your field. So as a peak performance coach, because I started coaching people, athletes, celebrities, business executives who wanted to just take their life to the next level. And so getting out there and getting my voice out there through the book and through a book tour and going on media was the way that I did that. So now I have clients who are getting, literally, I have one client who has booked 33 podcasts in the past 5 days. I mean, people are getting their message out there because there are 850,000 podcasts alone, not to mention radio, television. And as far as you want to go, you can go. If you want to be on Oprah, she has a new show right now that just started on Thursday. You can be on it if you want to. Larry King has a new show that also started on Thursday, and they are looking for great content. So if you have a specialty that you say, listen, I do this special technique as a chiropractor that is unique and is really working for people, I would tell you, dust off that book and get back out there, because it is never too late and it is never old. Get back out there and get that message out to the world. There are a lot of people who need some chiropractic help. So I have clients from every spectrum, every walk of life, with all kinds of messages and things, healers and teachers and doctors, and from all over. This last class that I just graduated had people from Singapore and Hong Kong and London and Canada and California and everywhere else. It was an amazing diversity of people from every age range and people who had a voice and a message to put out there. And I helped them to do that with this course called From Overlooked to Overbooked.
So my question is this: so if I'm sitting there, one of the people in the audience, and I'm thinking, I've got this talent, this I love to do pottery, for example, right? I love to do it, explain about it. I want to sell pottery. I love to have a website, but how are people going to find me? Like, I guess what ends up happening a lot of times is you've got the person who has the passion and they create this idea and a business and a thought. And they put so much focus into the technical element of their craft, but then they don't know where they go from there. I think that's where people end up getting frustrated, because those that do all the creation, like 90% of the creating, all the energy goes into creation, but then that last 10% of that last 10 yards to get into the end zone is for people to find out about us. So
Correct.
So what would you recommend someone like that? Where would they start?
I would recommend, again, like I said, here, let's think of it this way. Coca-Cola, what are the colors of Coca-Cola?
Red and white.
Okay. You know that. You're comfortable with that. Just about everyone over the age of 18 months could probably tell you the colors of Coca-Cola. But yet they still spend billions and billions every year on marketing. Why? Because it is important to still be in the conversation. So for people who, is in your example, someone who has, a pottery and they want to, if they have a blog or they have, something that they want to help people, and they have a legitimate product or service, because why do it for ego purposes? you have a right to make money with your gifts. So if they have something to offer, then they develop a strategic marketing plan, which must involve media. It has to. So there are literally ways, and I help my students to get access to free ways that you can find out about shows out there. Now, you're not going to necessarily be on every show. You don't want to. You want to find out who your target audience is. So if you're someone interested in pottery, then you want to find out where your tribe hangs out, what shows they listen to, what magazines they read, what are the things that they do for recreation. And you go on to those things. You're not going to waste your time going on Joe Rogan's show if your pottery people are not there. You don't even have to shoot that large. Just find out where your folks are and who they listen to, and you pitch. I teach you how to pitch to them and to create your offer, your story, your message to land that interview. And then I show you how to nail it and to close those people, and everybody wins.
So my first thought is this, and I'm watching you and you're animated and you don't have you could be on TV. You don't have, right? You could be on TV. You've got the look, the way that you speak. I may be okay on a camera, but what if I'm sitting there saying, I don't know if I could really, what am I going to say? So, okay, I love pottery. I love to, but once I get on that interview, how do I even talk on a podcast? I've never been interviewed before. What would I do there?
Yeah, well, that's why you have to be a student in From Overlooked to Overbooked, because it's a 6-week course of live coaching where I am hands-on with you. So I keep it small, and I believe that everyone has a voice, right? It doesn't matter. I have so many people that have been in the course that says, well, I'm shy and I'm not really that. So for those people, what I do is I teach them to create an alter ego. This is just a little tip and trick. So, to create another person. One of my sons is he's in Division I football, and he is kind of, I wouldn't call him shy, but he's kind of laid back. And I keep saying to him, Miles, you are in the entertainment business. Sports is entertainment. And while he's an incredible football player, he's not over the top personality. So I helped him to create an alter ego. So every time he puts on the uniform, you're kind of putting on your Superman. It's the Clark Kent, Superman thing. So you put that costume on, and now you give yourself permission to be that thing that you really wanted to be. So this is what I help many of my students who are shy and don't have these over-the-top personality. Remember, I was the same girl that couldn't say Happy Easter Day, okay? So you may see me now and think, oh, that's easy for her, but I couldn't even get 3 words out in front of a church made up of family and friends. So it is possible to actually find your voice and your confidence. And that's really the biggest thing that I offer to people, is that you find your confidence and own who you are and be the best version of that. And that's what I help you to do.
Very cool. So my question is so I'm going to ask you some things about, is part of this program having my own podcast? Do I have to learn how to do that? Or is this being a guest on shows? Is that part of the plan?
Yeah, the focus really is about being a guest and being that great guest that gets invited back over and over as a go-to. And having sat on both sides of it for me as well, from being the interviewer and the interviewee, I know what it takes to get invited back over and over and to be that great guest. So I give people those insider secrets on what to say when you get there, how to nail that interview, how to tell your story. First of all, I help you develop your signature story, and then how to tell your story and shrink that story. It's kind of like an accordion. If you're on radio or television, the entire segment could be 3 minutes. So you have to tell who you are, you have to say what you have, and you have to answer the question, why should we care? Who are you? What do you have? And why should we care? You usually have to answer that in a 3-minute segment. If you're on television and sometimes radio, you may get 5 or 10 minutes. But podcasts, you have a longer time to really, get to know the audience. What I teach my students is that you're out there looking for as if you are on a first date. So what happens on a first date? A first date, you are presented well, you look great, and you are, smelling great. Even if no one else could smell you, you could smell yourself. And you are saying all the right things, you're doing all the right things because you are seeking to get a second date. So if you approach that the audience is the person that you're looking to have a date with, that is that person that you want to reach out to you on your website or to be a potential client. And the host of the show, you approach that person as if they are the dad of the date that you're looking to get. So you have different agendas because that person you're looking to impress and get a second date, but the host, you are looking for them to endorse you so that they will allow you to date their daughter or son or what have you. So yeah, so it's really fun. We have an incredible time, and there is transformation in the 6 weeks. It takes about that time to really get out of your own way. But by the end of it, I mean, my students are killing it out there all over the place doing television, radio, and podcasts. Some of them just want to be guests, but many of them have also, as a result, created their own shows. But even when you have your own show, I always recommend that you guest appear on other people's show because that's how you spread your brand.
Well, the reason I asked that is because of course, I had a podcast. I did it all, a lot of work. So really what you're saying and what I'm hearing you say, which from a business perspective, from a sales perspective, from a speaker's perspective, is if you're out there, I want you to start looking at it from this perspective, why this is incredibly valuable. Not to look at it from the surface level, like you're promoting your product, but literally story sell. Right? We know that like people are going to identify to you and your story before anything else. And what you're telling us is, and first of all, you have a podcast, that's a lot of work. There's a lot of technology behind it. It's so much easier to be the guest. That's why I asked. So do not, don't unless you're loving and want to be like a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's so cool. But the thing is this, and sometimes you said 3 minutes, sometimes you have 45 seconds, sometimes you have 10 seconds, and you have to get those same points across.
Correct.
So what I mean, we call it the elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch,
if you can clearly identify with who you are and what your product is and what you're trying to say, and you can craft that conversation, and you could have that conversation in such a way that you could pre-frame it and get the story across in a short period of time. So you're teaching people to do that. So my point is, whether it's on a podcast or it's one-on-one, right? Or it's to an audience, right? Live, it's the same story and that you're helping people get.
Same thing. I teach, how to do the elevator pitch, and I literally time people. So we do, and that's the beauty, is that it's very hands-on. There is no course out there like mine, because a lot of people say, oh, I'll teach you how to get on to podcasts. Okay, but what do I do once I get there? What do I do after? How do I get on there? You know, or there are people who say, well, they'll teach you how to tell a story. But the beauty is you get all of that in mind. I teach the elevator pitch. I teach you how to tell your story in 30 seconds. If you only have 30 seconds to do it, how to pull out the nuggets and get what you need to say by the time you reach the, the elevator pitches, you start at the 30th floor and you get down to the bottom. And by that time, that person should know what you're all about. So we have an incredible time, in the course, because the students love the hands-on piece of it. And I am a, no nonsense coach, because I feel like if you really want this, then you have to be willing to do what it takes. And to be a rock star, the fact is, everyone wants to shine, but no one wants to be polished. But when you do it with love, and that's, my coaching style is to do it with love. I am a mother of 3 sons, and every one of my sons, one son is a swimmer who's training for the Olympics. The other one is headed to the NFL, and my oldest son is a published author way before his mother, when he was 18 years old, and he is on his 4th book right now. So they are all well accomplished, and I say that they were my first clients, non-paying, unfortunately, clients, but they all, because it's all about getting the right type of coaching and understanding how to bring out the greatness in a person. And I do say that's one of my superpowers.
Obviously. Now, Shelley, we're already getting some comments on the side chat, so I want to get to them. This one's from Cami. Says, I like the first date analogy. It made it so clear, so thank you. And this one from Kat Parker says, everyone wants to shine, but no one wants to be polished. That was an awesome quote.
Yeah,
so I was thinking, I agree, Kat, for sure. So tell us some of your, I don't want to get specific, but some of the typical clients that you've worked with, maybe some, tell us about maybe some breakthroughs or something that thing that you're most proud of with some of your clients. Maybe some of our listeners will be able to identify with some of what's going on.
Yeah, sure. Well, recently, I actually had a client who had language issues. She was super, super, super shy. And she, couldn't really, she had a hard time communicating her message and who she was. She actually helps women who are in menopause. And she just was dismissed so many times because she had a heavy accent. And so, I was able to work with her and, first of all, really get to the bottom of her why. Why was it that she felt that she was called to help this particular market of people, and to help to craft her story and to develop her to the point that she is out there. I mean, I want to cry every time I think about all of them. Literally today, I got 4 or 5 messages from people that said that they were on major shows and that they're hearing me in their head saying to go out there and do your thing. I actually tell all of my students to, I play, and I don't want to give all my secrets away, but I involve music very much in my coaching. And for this one recent class, our theme song was Let's Go Crazy by Prince. And one of the things that he says in the song was, when the elevator tries to bring you down, go crazy, punch a higher floor. So I tell people when they're starting to feel down and when life is kind of beating them up, to punch a higher floor. So today I got a message from two of the people that actually were on each other's show. And that was their code word of punch a higher floor. And it was kind of a wink to Coach here. And so it's, I love to see the breakthroughs. There are so many that, you know, I could tell you about, that people are literally having complete turnarounds because they are finding their voice and the confidence. Really the theme for, and the commonality amongst all the people is that they just didn't have the confidence because they were told by life and everyone else, you know, who are you? You know, who are you to have anything to say? And life has kind of, you know, beat a lot of people up. And as messengers, I tell them that's the reason you were beat up, because you needed to be able to feel what the people you're called to are feeling. So I tell them all, punch a higher floor.
It's amazing. I mean, imagine it's got to be incredibly rewarding. I've been part of speaker training before. I've gone on speaker training weekends before.
Yeah.
A lot of it in my profession, but to watch somebody who's so painfully shy to stand up in front of people, and literally like the way that they kind of hide their body and the way that even like a lot of the nonverbal stuff that comes up, and then to watch someone like that over a weekend develop the confidence they have in their story and how they deliver it, and to watch that transformation. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you are out there and you're like, no way, like, I think, what was it? It's Jerry Seinfeld or whatever it was. They said like the number one, you know, fear in the world is public speaking,
Public
right?
speaking,
And
yeah.
this, and like the second, you know, so that's the number one fear.
Death is number two.
Death is number two. So like, so that people would rather be in the coffin than giving the eulogy, right? And to
You imagine.
but to be so deathly afraid to speak, to then transform to somebody, that same person, to have that confidence to deliver that message. And we're talking, when you're talking about somebody's story, you're talking about somebody's story. You're talking about, you know, who they are as a person. And when they start to communicate that with confidence, it's more than being able to verbalize.
Correct.
It's really watching someone. So I would love, if you're think that you can't speak, or you wouldn't want to be able to, you can't do this, although you have a product, you have a message, right? I absolutely urge you. I mean, I've had weekend seminars, let alone a 6-week program with Shelley, has got to be incredibly transforming. Not only will you see the return on your business, but personally. I mean, I found through learning how to speak publicly, I got much better speaking one-on-one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you agree?
No, absolutely. Because, you know, once you start to own your voice and own it, and it's more than just, it's not just, like I said, getting the words out, but it is literally owning your truth. And whatever it is that is, most people, you know, find their story through a defining moment. You know, as I say in the book, you know, life is like photography, we develop from the negative. Most of the time, it is a negative experience that we have had that we find our message in there. Some say turn your mess into your message. It's not always the case, but a lot of times it is. And many people are really not able to walk into their own because they're hiding. The way I was hiding out behind my daddy's leg, feeling that I wasn't enough, you know, feeling that who would listen to me, you know, and for me, I was not afraid of failure, to be honest. I was afraid of success, because failure we know how to do, David. We know how to do failure pretty well. Most of us real good at that. But success, we don't know. And unfortunately, today, they are showing successful people are the targets of so much vitriol and hate that people they don't want that. So they hide out. So there's a lot of reasons why we're kind of unafraid to really get out there and be exposed, because I say the more exposed you are, the more exposed you are.
Mm-hmm. And it's that vulnerability that
Correct.
people are so afraid to expose
Right.
that becomes the strength.
Yes.
Right. I mean, we talk to my friend Patrick Gentempo, who runs this program. He's my mentor, and we've always talked about, I understand you're afraid, but just take one more step anyway.
Do it afraid.
I'm thinking of people that might be sitting there saying, I don't know if this is for me. I wonder if those people who are wondering if this is for them, that don't think they can, that this is exactly for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? The reality is you do have to be ready. You do have to be at a point where you've made a decision to say, I am willing to, at the very least, try this out. I create a safe environment. And that's something that I have. These people that come to me, these are doctors. These are, one woman is a federal prosecutor, okay, that had a story in her. She has a book in her that she wants to get out. And it is completely different from her persona as a federal prosecutor. And boy, did we just go at it because she was hiding behind this title. But these are people who have made a decision to say, this message in me is burning so much, I have to get it out. I have to get it out. And if you do, let me take your hand, and I promise you that you will not recognize yourself at the end of the 6 weeks.
Wow. I'm going to, at this point of our conversation, remind people that we're going to open up for question and answer in a moment. But before so please get your questions. If you have any questions for Shelley, please get them. Let's get them going right here. If you have any questions on branding yourself, finding your story, finding your voice, let's hear about it tonight. I'd love to hear if you've had any experience in things like this. So important for us to talk about. So let's talk about this this program that you have. Is it an ongoing thing? Do you have classes that you open up periodically? What does that program look like?
Yeah, it is 6 weeks, as I said, of a real intensive. It's we do about 2 hours per week. Sometimes we go to 2.5, and it is hands-on. So I'm really getting in there. I keep it intimate. And again, as I said, it's a safe space. So there are many breakthroughs. It sometimes can get emotional as people are really pulling out of them, as I am extracting that message, that story out of them, but so freeing, so transformational. And at the end of the 6 weeks, any graduates of my course, I already have you lined up and booked on shows. So you don't even have to worry about, okay, what do I do? I get you started out there, because people in the industry have said to me, if you get Shelleyfied, they call it Shelleyfied. So they said, send us anyone who is Shelleyfied and we will book them on our show. So my graduates already know, and that's a comforting thing to know, that at the end of it, you're already getting started out there and you're getting booked on shows. But after that, I release them to the world. I mean, they all stay in touch with me and I hear their success stories, but I send them out into the world and they're ready. They're ready.
I'm wondering if like crafting this story is almost like really helping them create this hit song, because like you think about it, you go on a podcast and it's not like you have to wonder where you're going to stay this time. It's when you're the guest, it's the same story, maybe better each time, maybe fine-tuned better each time. But you know where you know how to tell your story in such a crafted way that it's, you're saying the same story. That's, which is kind of cool.
That,
It's not like,
David, is so, I can't even believe you said that, because that's literally what I teach people, is that this is your song. So I tell my story about, my Prince story, as I said. So, and how I went to, when I was 18, and I was in love with Prince. I was convinced that he was to be my next husband, my husband. And so I was 18 years old, and he was coming to Nassau Coliseum, which is, the big
I'm in
Coliseum out in
Jersey, by
Long
the
Island,
way, and I
right?
think we're around the same era. So I was a big Prince fan. So
And so I was like, okay, I have to, get to this concert. So I say to my parents, will you buy me tickets? And I'm aging myself because it was in Teen Beat magazine, which I don't even know that Teen Beat exists anymore. But it was Teen Beat said that Prince was coming to Nassau Coliseum. So I like, okay, I have to get there. And the tickets were $150. So my parents said, no way, we're not doing that. So I said, okay, I'll do what I have to do. So I do babysitting. I was doing whatever I had to do. I even babysat, David, in a funeral home where there were dead bodies downstairs, and I'm babysitting the director's children that she lived upstairs. I did whatever I had to do, and I bought 2 tickets to this. So now, I mean, this is $300. Then was a lot. Even today, that's a lot. So I get my cousin, and I say to her, okay, I ordered the tickets through a scalper that was in the back of Teen Beat magazine. I didn't know, because I didn't know how to get to, I didn't even know if there was Ticketmaster or all that. So I ordered them through a scalper. I didn't know any better. And I send the money order. I go get a money order. I send the $300. And now I'm waiting. Every time the postman comes, I'm like, please, Mr. Postman, look and see if you have my tickets. And every day I'm going to the mailbox. Are they there? They're not there. They're not there. I'm thinking, these people have stolen my money. And then one day, I just happened to be coming home from school, and I see the mailman. And he says, Shelley, I have a letter for you. And it was the tickets. And I was super excited. So my cousin and I, we shave this side of our head, and we get our Prince hairdo and our Purple Rain outfits, and drive to Nassau Coliseum to this Prince concert. Now, the whole time, David, I'm wondering, are they going to arrest us? Because I don't even know if these tickets are real. But the deal is, I'm trying to rub it out to see if the ink is coming off. I don't know. So we get to the gate, and I'm kind of, nervously handing the guy. And, they take the flashlight, and they're looking. And they said, oh, come this way. And I was thinking, are they taking us to security? I don't know what's happening. So he starts walking us with the flashlight, and I'm thinking we're going to be in the nosebleed section, of course. And yet he's walking us down, and we go down some steps and some more steps. And then he's walking us, and I see this guy with a thing in his ear, and I'm like, he's taking us to security. We're going to jail. And he brings us to the front row and says, here's your seats right there. And I heard Prince singing songs the exact way that I heard them on the record. First of all, it was called the record then. And that is what I tell people, is that when people see you, they want to hear your song. Your story is your song. So you were so right, David, when you said that. It is your song, and they want to hear the song the exact same way. I don't know if you've seen the grades from, from Les Brown and Tony Robbins and, these speakers who you've heard, even Brendan Burchard, and these people, they tell their story. And you're like, okay, I can't wait till they get to the part where he's laying on the car and he's looking up at the, Brendan's story. It is the same thing that people want to hear your story over and over and over. Because people say, oh, I don't want to tell the same story. You better. Prince sang the same song for years. And I want to hear it the exact same way. Don't veer off. When I went to to see Billy Joel, and he's doing medleys and kind of twisting it up. Don't do that, Billy. I want to hear Only the Good Die Young exactly the way I heard it on the record.
Right.
And so that's what you have to do with your story. Be okay with telling that same story over and over, and tell it with the same passion as if you are telling it for the first time.
I love that. I love that. And thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
Oh man, it brings me back too, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a lover of and a fan of Prince, then you know that was quite an experience, and he was amazing. And to this day, probably one of the best concerts that I ever went to. And it was a risk, that I took in, buying these scalper tickets and getting out there and doing what I had to do to even babysit in the funeral home. But I was going to get there to see him, and who knew that I'd be front row and hearing him sing Purple Rain and play that guitar like he did.
Now, Shelley, I know one of the ways that, and I do have a question on this side here for you, but before I even get to it, and if you have any more questions, we have one question that we're going to ask in a second, and then hopefully have a couple more come in. But if you want to stay in touch with Shelley, it's www.sherocks.me. That's SHEROX.me/free gift. And you're giving a couple chapters away of a new book that you wrote?
I'm giving chapters of the #1 best-selling book that beat out billionaire Mark Cuban, by the way, for the #1 spot. And on the day that it went #1. And so it's sherocks.me/free gift. And it is a free chapters of the book. And these, even if you didn't read the rest of it, these original chapters are life-changing, and you can apply the skills today that will be life-changing. And I want to give that gift to your folks.
So we'll have that also. Hopefully we'll get it here on the side chat here as a link. If you're watching this as a recording, we'll get it emailed out to you. And of course, if you have any questions on tonight's program or any of the last 5 weeks, any questions about what's going on next week, you can always email us at support@paychecksolution.com. And this question comes from Kat, because it's probably a good question, because you and I are talking about our personal story and our own personal brand, but there are people that are in this group that it may not be their own personal brand, but they may have some. So Kat asks, is this only for people who want to promote themselves and their message, or what about someone who wants to market their company or their product?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I tell people, and to be honest, this may be somewhat unconventional, but I say you're always the product. So even if you are, if you're the owner of the company, then, and you are the owner, you still are the product. Your products are byproducts of you, the product. But there are times that people, like you mentioned, who are in multi-level marketing, they still are marketing themselves at the end of the day. When you see anyone out there, they, at the end of the day, are marketing themselves. An actor who, is doing a movie. They didn't write the movie, they didn't direct the movie, but they are marketing themselves as a part of that movie. So an owner of a product, Elon Musk, when he's out, that at the end of the day, he is a brand himself. We are all a brand. I don't care if you are the secretary in a business. You should approach that as you are an entrepreneur, and your company is your client. So it is always you, and then why you're doing what you do. People want to know your why. As they say, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I would say to that question that Kat asked, that you're always the product. So you are, at the end of the day, always promoting you. And then once you establish that credibility, people will buy whatever it is you're offering.
Yeah, people buy, they're passionate about why you started that company, and there's a story behind it, and
there always
solving a
is.
problem.
There always is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess and I think that tonight, if especially Kat, who asked the question, that's an important perspective to realize that, it depends on, I guess, I started a dog blog. I love my dog. I started a blog. It's going to turn into a business, but I love my dog. And I'm talking to people in my market are people who love their dog. So you don't have to go too far to find the common.
Exactly. But the thing is, I want to know, because if I can identify with you and your story, it doesn't matter what you're offering me. I'm going to buy it because I am in love with you and what you are about. I tell people, take me to a movie, take me to a verbal movie, and I will buy your popcorn and your soda and everything else that you're selling, even when it's not good for me. I'm going to buy it because I want to support you. And so that's how the importance really of having your story. So the fact that you love your dog, for dog lovers out there, they will be able to identify with you because they too love their dog. So therefore, that's the commonality that you all have.
There's so many brands out there. If you think about the story behind the brand, even if you watch television, I think it was a dog food recently where there was a statue of the dog it was their family dog and inspired them, and he's no longer with them anymore. I'm like, I felt so bad that their dog died. I wanted to buy the dog food.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's so key. The story is so huge.
Yes.
All right. So we do have in the side chat now, we have the link. Please. I mean, I've used every free link and giveaway this program has had to offer, and I absolutely encourage you to sign up to get those chapters so we can stay connected and you can get a little bit deeper into Shelley's world. Find out more about. So, is that an ongoing enrollment for that program? Is that something?
It is. I actually have just sold out now of the next. So the next group will be starting at the end of August. But after I set certain dates because I, again, only have 24 hours in a day. And so, and I pour in so much, and I, again, keep them small so that they can be intimate and we can really get a lot out of them. So people would have to check onto the website, which I actually have in the chat, to learn about the course, and they can send an email to get on the waiting list, because at this point it's a waiting list for the course.
Very cool. So consider where you could be in possibly 2 months from now with a very clear story and places to go out and share it by marketing yourself, your products, and your story. So Shelley, I'm so happy you got to spend this time tonight.
Wow, you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be clicking on the link and getting my free chapters, and I don't know, you
I
kind
hope
of
you
inspired
do.
me. I've got this book that I've had for a while that's kind of sat there, and it's kind of, you think about it. Did I've never given up on it. I just kind of put it off
David,
the shelf.
Dr. David, I am going to implore you to take that book, even if you have to rebrand it, even if you have to do a new cover to make it fresh for you, but re-release that book. Now is an incredible time for you to get out there. And again, now you don't have to, all the things that bothered you before with the traveling and staying in hotels and paying for all of that, you do not have to do. Stay right there where you are and get all over the place and go from overlooked to overbooked with that book.
You know what? It sounds like something, the work's already been done, right? It's just a
The
matter
work
of
has been done.
just
The
fine
work has
tune
been
that
done, and I
story.
know that it's out there and it's going to be a blessing to people. So I would hate for you to shove it in a drawer and say, well, that was a fun thing that I tried. There are people, that are waiting to hear from you. So get that book back out there. Don't give up on it.
I think I'm going to do that. So I just want to thank you for your time tonight. You definitely graced us with your presence. You've
Thank you so
inspired me, and I know you've inspired some people here on the chat.
Thank you.
People, if you're out there and I know you are, and whether you're listening to the recording or not, definitely log on, get that free gift. Shelley, thank you so much for spending some time with us tonight. Really appreciate you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You too. Have a great night.
Okay.